right, we're moments away from tonight's opening tip. Here are the starting lineups for the Georgia Southern Eagles, presented by the Red Door Guys. They can help you get rid of that unwanted property just as fast as the Rams want to get rid of the Eagles. Give the Red Door Guys a call at 804-373-7267 or 804-373-RAMS. No Adante Holloman, the team's leading scorer in the starting lineup. So they go with a three-guard alignment with Eugene Brown III, Dante Horn, Aaron Banks, McKalian White, and Tyson Brown. And for VCU, their starting lineup presented to you by the VCU Black and Gold MasterCard from Virginia Credit Union. Philip Russell, Max Shulga, Christian Furman, Jack Clark, and Joe Bamacil. The Rams control the opening tip wearing the home white, and we are underway here from the Stew. Phil Russell off the Furman screen. A look inside to Clark. Back to Russell, who got hammered and no whistle. Out of bounds. It'll stay with VCU with 7 to shoot.
Well, I think that Russell came off there looking for a clean shot. I thought it was actually a good block there, and he kind of exaggerated, the bump there a little bit.
Doug Sermon and Justin Porterfield, the two officials, discussing on whether the shot clock should be reset or not, and they will go to the replay immediately.
Yeah, they're going to look at it to make sure that the ball hit the rim or not on that shot.
They're going to talk to Nikki, who handles everything in regards to the instant replay here at the Stew. Anthony Eads, the other official here this evening. Here's a look at that replay to see, in fact, that it did. What do you think, Coach?
Yeah, I think it hit. I think it changes direction. It hits it ever so slightly, but I do think it nicks that front of that rim there, yes. Yep. Clearly. And you mentioned Nicky DeSantis, who is the DV Sport replay technician, really the best in the business at the Atlantic 10. I told you, my history here in the Atlantic 10 the last 5 seasons, and Nicky is the one that we've worked closely with and really is the bar that everybody judges every other tech by. And the officials love having her. They love coming here to work and work with Nicky.
So when she goes back and listens to this game on demand, you gave her the shout out, so she will be smiling from ear to ear with that.
I think I can already check that off box. Check that box for myself already tonight.
One for the coach. And he was right on a second one. They did say it, in fact, hit the rim to a reset of the shot clock to 20. Rams with possession. Bamacil, the team's leading scorer, with Clark. Back to Bamacil, wide open 3. Tap to Russell, back to Bamacil. Maneuvering in the lane and gives it up to Clark.
This is a talented offensive rebounding group. Yep. That was a bad play on Shulga's part. They actually had 2 hands into the chest of the Georgia Southern defender, and he went down. Referee saw it and called the personal foul.
Justin Porterfield called that offensive foul on Shulga, his first. VCU's second leading scorer this season at just under 15 points tonight. Aaron Banks running the offense for Georgia Southern, coming in at 5-3 on the season. Lost to Drake last Friday by 14 on the road. Banks doesn't get the roll. Quick outlet to Bamacil. Bamacil ahead of the court. Misses the jam. Russell the offensive rebound. And they give it to Shulga for 3. Max Shulga coming in on the season, shooting 35% from distance, and gives the Rams an early lead.
The Rams move the ball so well on offense. Shulga gets that quick catch and shoot 3-point shot for himself there.
Dante Horn, the senior from Memphis, a nice feed inside to Tyson Brown, the transfer from Rhode Island who played against VCU last season, has the Eagles on the board. Bamacil guarded by Horn. Extra pass to Russell. Looks to Furman inside. Knocked out of bounds. It'll stay with VCU with 13 to shoot.
Russell does a great job of penetrating into the paint. And Furman's got to have his hands ready in the position to catch, shoot, go right up, and dunk the ball, hopefully. 13 seconds on that shot clock.
Shulga with the inbound. Now under 10 to shoot. Shulga to Russell for three. And the rebound by Tyson Brown. He had 2 points and 7 rebounds last year for Rhode Island against VCU. Three missed by Aaron Banks. Bamisile clears as VCU has a 1-point lead. Bamisile for three. And Dante Horn the rebound. This pace early on, Coach, favors VCU, right?
I think it does. I mean, both teams want to play at a fast pace, as you see. Curious to watch and see how VCU guards ball screens in all situations. And generally with a big man, with Furman, he's going to just kind of play off. I think they'll switch 1 through 4 with these other guys in all the ball screens.
Dante Horn with the last Eagles basket as they take the lead for the first time. Phillip Russell looks to Furman inside. Nice pass to Clark, and that was challenged and blocked by White. Great defensive play by the Eagles with a 1-point lead. Here is Eugene Brown, and Horn has it. Plenty of time for Georgia Southern to work offensively now with 10 to shoot. White off the screen, challenges Furman and lays it in. Now Kavion White, the second leading scorer on the team and 18th best in the Sun Belt, gives the Eagles a 3-point lead.
I think early on this VCU offense is a little bit stagnant with not enough movement as Clark shoots a quick one from on top.
Bamisile the offensive rebound, and he'll go to the line for two. As they're going to get Tyson Brown with his first foul, and that brings us to our first media timeout of the night with 15:56 to go. Georgia Southern on the road with a 3-point lead here on Masson and on ESPN+. After scoring the most points in a decade, the VCU Rams, Georgia Southern in the midst of a 6-0 run to lead by 3 over VCU. Sean Robertson, Sean Carney, former associate commissioner for basketball in the A-10. Eagles on a 6-0 run. How have they done it, Coach?
Yeah, I think that the Eagles just were able to get down the floor and get some good shots early. And I think for the most part, VCU has taken good shots, but they're 1 for 6 from the three-point line. They've also gotten some extra chances by grabbing some offensive rebounds to put them in a position. And I think with a little more movement, as we see Zeb Jackson come to the scorer's table, a little more movement, I think they're going to get some better shots. They're going to start to fall.
Bamisile missed that first free throw. He came in on the year 63% from the line and missed both as White vacuums in the rebound. As VCU has been held scoreless for almost 3 minutes in this first half. A leaner inside by Eugene Brown, and now Furman and Brown were tied up. Saved by the Rams. Here's Russell with the fadeaway over Aaron Banks, and Russell has his first 2 of the night.
Picking up right where he left off from the other night.
Scored 18 in the win against Elizabeth City, in which the team scored 103 against the Vikings. Doug Sermon blew the whistle, and they're going to get Phil Russell with the foul.
Yeah, Russell was trying to get through a ball screen there, and just a little bit too physical as he got through it.
Ryan Odom didn't like that call at all, and he was talking with Sermon as soon as he went from the baseline to the scorer's table to make the call, as now Zeb Jackson sees his first action. Good hands by Shulga, and it will stay with Georgia Southern.
Sometimes VCU will look to trap on out-of-bounds under situations. They did not in that spot.
There is Doug Sermon awaiting the Kavion White to inbound. Team's second leading scorer, the junior from out of Odessa, Texas. Georgia Southern has won 5 of their first 8 on the season, and good defense by Russell, as it'll stay with Georgia Southern now with 11 to shoot.
Only 11 on the shot clock. This is an important defensive possession for VCU to hold them.
Here's Banks going right to Russell. The jump stop and finds two. And says something to Russell after that. He's a guard that Coach Henry for Georgia Southern really likes. Calls him a steady presence on the floor. And it's an 8-0 run for the Eagles. Here's Shulga to the basket. Tip no good by Furman. And Avante Parker, who just checked in wearing number 25, claimed the rebound. It's an 8-2 Georgia Southern run.
VCU getting caught up on a lot of ball screen situations. You know, again, mostly with that 5-man, but switching usually in those positions 1 through 4. But Georgia Southern getting to the basket and also being very scrappy around the basket.
And the follow off the Bradley Douglas miss by Avante Parker. Team's second leading rebounder. And it's the Eagles' largest lead of the night at 5.
Coach Odom calling a set from the bench there.
And Parker got called for the call for the foul.
You know, one of the interesting things that has changed on an NCAA box score in the last couple of years is a column called Fouls Drawn. And I think Max Shulga, and really it's an international thing because I think they've always done it, but Max Shulga is one of the very best in the Atlantic 10, if not in the country, at drawing fouls.
I would agree with that. Shulga, Jackson, Luke Bamboye, Michael Bell, and Russell. As Coach Odom has gone to his bench and brought in Jackson, Bell, and Bamboye. Shot clock is under 10. Jackson a long 3, an air ball. Bamboye saves it right to Dante Horn. Rams are shooting just 2 of 12 from the field. Horn shoots an air ball, and VCU gets it back.
Back-to-back air balls, for one for each team in that last 2 possessions.
1 for 7 are the Rams from 3 here tonight. Russell changes his mind, and now we get another foul. It's going to be on Horn.
VCU ran a set there where they get a little bit of screen-the-screener action. They screen the big into the post and then down screen for Russell coming back to the top. He was a little bit indecisive. That's why he passed off to the big man.
Another thing, Coach, we're seeing both teams really kind of going back and forth with the officials on fouls being called, as Shulga connects on the Rams' second made 3 of the night.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to do. You got 10 competitive guys out there, but they need to let the officials do their job and just go ahead and play and compete hard.
Shulga with 6 of the Rams' 8. Douglas for 3, and he comes back and answers the Shulga 3. Just his 11th made 3 of the season, was shooting just 24% from distance. Shulga off the screen, connects again. And things getting a little chippy on the court right now, Coach.
Well, I think on that last possession, Shulga got a little bit deep in help defense and was late to recover.
Here's Avante Parker.
I don't think that's his game.
Shulga with the rebound and was quickly bumped by Eugene Brown. The transfer from Ohio State gets whistled for his first foul, and Brandon Jennings, the freshman from right here in Richmond, went to St. Christopher's, comes in for Russell, and Joe Bamisil back in the game for Max Shulga.
I've been impressed by Jennings' play throughout this season. He's a talented young guard. He's going to be a good player here for many years.
True freshman, averaging just over 18 minutes a night this season. Here is Bell. Nice pass from Bamisil to Bell for his first 2.
I think in that possession, VCU was able to reverse the ball and make it go side to side, which makes it more difficult for the defense to play. And then once you get it there, you've got a good driving position.
Tied at 13. Rams have made their last 3 shots. Horn gives it up to Nate Bradford, wearing number 23 in for the first time. Horn challenges Bamboye, and Bell got away with, I think, basket interference there. He tipped it while it was in the cylinder.
I think it might have been off, but luckily for the Rams, no call there.
Ball was kicked by Bradford as VCU will maintain possession when we come back. 11:15 to go in the first half, tied at 13. CarMax is the proud sponsor of tonight's game. Shop a nationwide inventory with upfront prices and CarMax certified quality you can trust. Find the car that's right for you at CarMax.com. CarMax, the way car buying should be. 11:16 in the first half, tied at 13 as the Rams have picked up their offensive output as they have made their last 3 shots and are now shooting 33% from the field as compared to Georgia Southern's 46%.
He just ran what we call an elevator screen.
Here's Jackson with the head
for
fake
Bamsil to come through.
And is stolen by Georgia Southern.
Tough to make that pass on the interior with so many bodies in there.
Micah Smith wearing 11 for Georgia Southern is in as Horn went up against Zeb Jackson. Long rebound to Bell. Bell charges right into Bradford. They're going to get Nate Bradford with a blocking foul.
One of the things that makes this VCU Rams team so explosive on the offensive end is, they've got 4 guys on the floor right now that can put the ball on the floor. Bell got it, took it right to the rim, drew the foul, and he'll get to the foul line here.
You mentioned about that elevator screen. We've seen that a lot with VCU since Coach Odom has been here. Explain how challenging it is for a defense to go against an elevator screen.
Well, basically, you've got 2 guys in this instance on the left side of the floor, and after Bamsil gets through that screen, they close the doors as if it's elevator doors, and then the defender has to decide which way he's going to go, over top of it or underneath it, and then Bamsil, as the terrific offensive player that he is, will read that defender, come off it, hopefully be in a position to catch and shoot.
Michael Bell, the sophomore from out of London, England, connects on both free throws. Before those 2 attempts, he was 2 of 7 from the free throw line, was shooting just 29%, but he made both and has given the Rams a 15-13 lead. Here is White against Bamboye, and Bamboye comes up with a block. Bell in the open 4 with the left hand, and we'll get 2 free throws.
Well, great defensive play by Bamboye. Goes up there and gets enough of that ball. They throw it ahead. Bell attacking the basket again. Of course, you want to be selfish. You want him to get that 3-point play.
That's the Michael Bell we would like to see at VCU, a guy that's using his athleticism, not overthinking certain plays. He's just using that God-given ability and taking advantage of it. And that's 3 in a row made from the line by Michael Bell.
Well, I've seen Bell play quite a bit, and certainly this is a very athletic group, but I would state that Bell would be probably one of the best athletes of this group.
Stands 6'8", gained an extra half-inch in the offseason. He told me that at media day. As almost a steal, they're going to credit it a turnover as Banks touched it last.
That's something that, constant pressure will do that to you. Just even as simple as an inbounds pass. They got it deflected. It went off of the Georgia Southern Eagle. VCU ball.
The Rams in the midst of a 9-0 run over the last 2+ minutes. As Max Shulga comes back in, and Jackson lost it out of bounds.
Ooh, that's an unusual play.
It is. And now Sermon is now going to say it's not going to go to Georgia Southern because the player on the bench caught it in the air. And they're going to, I think, give this back to VCU, Coach.
Well, it's either going to go back to VCU or this is really unique. I think he may have called a technical, and I think it's because the ball's in play.
He did. He just did.
And the Georgia Southern player reached for the ball.
Good catch there, Coach.
Similar to what would happen.
He just did it. That was Dante Horn, who caught it in the air while sitting on the bench. And now Coach Charlie Henry, in his second year at Georgia Southern, is talking to Horn about that. But that's a good call, Coach. And yeah, like you said, that's something we rarely see, something like that where Zeb could have made a play on the ball. Horn thinking it was not catchable, using that football analogy, took it out of the air, and now a tech is called a team tech, is called on Georgia Southern.
I think the only time that you might see that in past years is on an inbounds play when a defender might reach over and touch the ball. I think it's going to be a similar scenario, but I've coached for 30-plus years. I have never seen that happen. And I don't think that the Georgia Southern player on the bench actually reached for it, but it was still in play, and it caused the technical.
It was so close to him. The instinct told him to catch it. Bamasil misses on the three. Jackson hustles the offensive rebound. Ball loose and recovered by Georgia Southern. It was a one technical free throw by VCU, which Deb Jackson made to continue a 10-0 run for the Rams. Banks for three, and that ends the 10-0 run. Banks shoots 35% from three on the season, just his 10th made from distance this season. Bell with the head fake. Here's Bamasil in the lane. The alley-oop to Bamboye, and it was too high for Luke. Bamasil hit the floor, and he's slowly getting across half court. Douglas for three, and Bell the rebound. VCU with an 18-16 lead. A 10-2 run by the Rams, having them ahead. Jackson with the miss. Shulga an offensive rebound, and he was bumped from behind.
I think that's a quick shot by Zeb Jackson in that possession, but with these players, we've got a lot of opportunities to get to the offensive glass. Shulga, Bamasil, even Jackson, they all go to the glass to create additional shot opportunities for their team. But I think that sometimes this Rams team will shoot some quick ones.
This year, VCU plus almost nearly 4 rebounds a night. And Max Shulga, the team's leading rebounder, is 6.5 a night, and he goes to the line for the front end of a 1-and-1. He was one of the best a year ago. In fact, he had the second best free throw percentage in school history last season. As now Fats Billups, another Richmond area product from Varina High School, into the lineup for the first time, wearing number 5. His alma mater's football team. They're playing in the state semifinals this weekend against Tuscarora.
I watched him early in pregame. He's got a terrific stroke from the outside.
Shulga made 1 of 2, and VCU has a 3-point lead inside 9 minutes. White in the lane, and that's going to be an offensive interference by Tyson Brown.
I think Shulga actually got a piece of that on a block, but White got it up there softly, and it bounced around.
Might have got a fingertip on it.
I think that one is correct. Good call by Justin Porterfield. And if they wanted, they could look at that since they made that call on the floor. They could go look at that next media timeout. But I think it was an accurate call.
So good officiating crew with Porterfield, Doug Sermons, and Anthony Eads. Shulga kept it alive with under 8.5 to go. Russell into the lane, and it was unaccounted for. His 4th point.
Bamboye actually cleared out his defender a little bit, which allowed Russell to get right to the right side of the backboard and an easy lay-in.
Another one of the true freshmen as Fat Billups comes up with the steal. And here's Fats. Gets challenged and no foul. Justin Porterfield said it was all ball. And it was last touched by Fats Billups.
Well, on the defensive end, officials will talk about a player who goes defensively, jumps A to A. And Porterfield saying that he had all ball. I think there was some contact, so they may have missed that one. A little bit physical there.
Crowd did not like that at all. Douglas guarded by Fats Billups. Georgia Southern hanging around here. They got that first punch from VCU in that 10-0 spurt. And only trailed by 5. White from straight away. Bamboye the rebound.
Clark with a very good challenge on that 3-point shot by White.
Here's Shulga to the rim. Deflected and stolen by Eugene Brown. Georgia Southern's defense has been playing really well for Coach Henry. And they're going to get an offensive foul on Tyson Brown.
And who drew the foul?
Max
Shulga.
That's Tyson's second, and that brings us to a timeout. 7:16 to go in the first half. VCU up 21-16. You're watching Rams basketball on Masson and on ESPN+.
Do you need to sell an unwanted property as is? Why not call the Red Door guys? Call 902-CASH. We buy houses for cash with no closing costs and no repairs. With over 20 years experience, we've seen it all. Rusted and busted? No problem. A tenant is in it? He can stay. Good condition, but you need to sell quick? We want to buy it. Before you call a realtor, all we ask is that you
pick up the phone and call the Red Door guys to buy your home.
How's everything going?
At VCU Health, we can be a force to help you move better in the world, as in helping you experience uninterrupted motion and relief.
On this side, we'll have to go in.
When it comes to orthopedics and sports medicine, whoever you are, whatever brings you to us, we are unconditionally committed to helping you live your best life. That is our unending promise. VCU Health.
Hey, which school did she decide on? She's still only 5.
I mean, where's that sticker stuff?
Invest 529 accounts can be used anywhere. Learn more at invest529.com.
It's common knowledge that there are a number of top-tier universities in Virginia, but there's one that's different from the rest. A world-class university that's ungated, unconventional, and unequaled. VCU. Uncommon minds want it.
Every year, millions of us lose someone to cancer, and only memories remain. But as an NCI-designated comprehensive cancer center, ranked in the country's top 4%, VCU Massey Comprehensive Cancer Center is unconditionally committed to keeping loved ones in their chairs and in our lives.
All right, the officials are at the scores table to check the replay to see if, in fact, this was offensive interference by Tyson Brown. What do you think, Coach?
Yeah, I do think that they got the call right. And one of the things, by rule, if they make the call on the floor, it does allow them to go look at it. But they have to go look at it at the next media timeout. And they could, if they decided that it was an incorrect call, they could take the, well, actually, if it was offensive and the basket went in, you know, they could actually give a basket or change the score, which happens sometimes.
Doug Sermon bringing the conference to Justin Porterfield and Anthony Eads at midcourt. He gave that signal that I think the play stood, as that still counted as offensive interference. And Justin Porterfield confirmed that to us. That was the call on the court stood. Offensive basket interference. No basket for the Eagles. And we have it at 21-16. The coach, Sean Carney, I'm Sean Robertson, our entire Rams Unlimited crew here at the Stew. VCU looking to go 5-0 at home this season, facing Georgia Southern, who has played with them so far in this first half. Here's Russell, blocked by Tyson Brown. Here's Shulga getting to the baseline. Here's Russell. Stolen by Bradford. Bradford going up against Clark. Uses the window for 2.
Good finish by Bradford there. You know, VCU on the offensive end, I think sometimes they get a little bit too complicated. They drive the lane, leave their feet without knowing where they want to send the ball. I think sometimes they pass up some good shots and try and make it a little more difficult on themselves.
Bradford missed the last game for Georgia Southern against Drake with the flu, but he was back here tonight. Clark for 3. Fats Billups an offensive rebound.
One thing that keeps them in this game is I think that's the 8th offensive rebound for the Rams tonight so far.
And a 3 and a foul. And they're going to call a technical foul as well.
They're going to call Shulga on a good basket and then a flop. You know, I talked about Shulga drawing fouls, and he's very good at it. But if you go back to 3 years ago when they instituted the rule with flops, it was the one thing that when they tried to make some changes, as you can see, there's barely any contact. I think the player, Georgia Southern player, may have touched his jersey or touched his chest slightly, but it should not have caused Shulga to go down as hard as he did.
Trying to go with the old Reggie Miller acting. So the basket counted for Max Shulga. He now has 13 in the first half to lead all scorers.
So when that rule was first put into play, there was an awful lot, and it drew a lot of criticism, but when they adjusted it slightly, they only went to the most egregious ones. So the officials felt that that was a very egregious one to make sure that they actually called it.
And Doug Sermon immediately called that technical foul as Horn draws a foul either on Shulga or Furman. It's going to be on Furman.
You know, the Rams continue to struggle a little bit with that middle ball screen. And Furman is in basically drop coverage as he comes off. He continues to retreat, and the defender on the ball actually has to get around that screen and get back. But the more that Furman retreats to the basket, you know, the Georgia Southern Eagles are having some success just driving it right at him, kind of going at his body, even though he goes vertical. And in that instance, he actually, I think, hit an arm on that last play.
Horn shoots 56% from the line. That was something that Furman talked to us about at Media Day earlier this year. He said as a freshman, he didn't even remember if he even did drop coverage defense like he has been doing this year under Coach Odom.
Well, I mean, he's not the thickest of players. He's certainly long and athletic, and he competes his tail off every night out. But he's got to be a little bit more of a rim protector, even though he does get his share of block shots.
1 of 2 free throws made for Georgia Southern, who are down by 4. Shulga for 3. And it will go out of bounds to Georgia Southern.
If I'm Coach Odom, I'll live with every catch and shoot 3 by Shulga. When he has his feet set, you know, he's as good a shooter as there is in the country.
That was his first miss from 3. Billups hits the floor hard. Georgia Southern will try to answer and does so. Eugene Brown, the transfer from Ohio State, knocks down the triple to pull the Eagles to within 1. 5 of 28 before tonight from 3 was Eugene Brown, 18%.
Well, they've already bested their 2 made threes from the game the other night.
They're 3 of 8 tonight so far. Shulga gets contact either by Brown or Avante Parker.
Well, Georgia Southern's having difficulty guarding Shulga off the bounce. Now, and it's really, really hard for a defender these days. Another recent rule change was the change in the block charge. And it's almost impossible as a secondary defender, not a guy on the ball, but that secondary defender who comes over to help, he's got to be there before Shulga puts that plant foot on the ground. That's why you see so very, very few charges called in games anymore. Most of the time, it's going to be a block.
And that has been so much of a benefit for the offensive player to be more aggressive going to the basket like that.
Well, when the Rules Committee wanted to get away from major crashes or collisions, especially those at the basket, especially for players who are in a difficult position and hard to be in the spot to score it, but also that so many times they're airborne.
Shulga made 1 of 2 as Zeb Jackson back in to replace Fats Billups, who gave Coach Odom 4 good minutes on the floor. Rams ahead by 2. Horn's teardropper has tied the game at 25. Horn now with 5 for the Eagles. Our second tie of the night. We've had 2 lead changes so far. Shot clock is under 10. Russell, guarded by Bradford, looks for Furman and gives the Rams the lead.
Great little shot fake and penetration by Russell. Furman has his hands ready. It's an easy catch and finish for him.
his first field goal. VCU ahead 27-25. Horn doesn't get it to go, and Zeb Jackson the rebound. Nice bounce pass to Phil Russell for three. Jackson an offensive rebound. Splits the double and gets the basket plus the foul.
Well, you mentioned that bounce pass in transition. Shulga finds Russell, gets that shot up. Jackson chases down the miss. Gets the finish, and he's going to come back and shoot a free throw.
Timeout on the floor with 3:54 to go in the first half. VCU up 29-25 on Masson and on ESPN+. 3:54 left in the first half. VCU with a 29-25 lead over Georgia Southern. Sean Robinson, Sean Carney, former coach, associate commissioner of basketball in the A-10. What have you liked so far from both teams in this first half?
Well, certainly if you're a purist and you're talking about the offensive end and making shots, this game's not for you so far in this first 16, 17 minutes. But both teams are competing hard. The pace is extremely fast. And certainly VCU's in the position they're in because they're getting extra shots. I think they've got 10 offensive rebounds. I'm shocked, though, that they're not better at the free throw line. Particularly a guy like Shulga, he's such a good shooter. I think he should be 80+.
Well, last year he was in that category. He had only missed 20 free throws all of last year. He is 2 of 4 tonight. That's 16 missed free throws so far this season. And the Rams collectively 7 of 12 from the stripe. Kavion White back in the lineup for Georgia Southern wearing number 7. Good move to the rim. Follow-up slam by Micah Smith.
Yeah, the tough play there is that 2 guys went up to try and block that shot, and that left the rim open for Georgia Southern to get that tip dunk.
The 6'7" freshman from Tyrone, Georgia, has pulled the Eagles to within a basket. Phil Russell from straight away knocks down the triple. He's got 7, his first made 3 of the night.
That was deep.
He shot that from Arlington, Texas, where he came from. Under 3 to go in the first half, and VCU ahead by 5. Here's White looking to answer with the left hand, and they're going to get Bamboye inside with the foul.
Well, there certainly was contact. White got past Shulga on the drive, and then there was a little bit of contact by Bamboye at the rim, which sends White to the free throw line. They've only shot 3 free throws so far.
Kavion White shoots 86% from the stripe this year. He's got a good form. I mentioned at the top of the broadcast, he's the team's 2nd leading scorer and is in the top 20 in the Sun Belt.
The Eagles have had very good spacing in this first half, and it has allowed an awful lot of middle ball screens, meaning those at or near the top of the key, and with good spacing in each corner, is allowing some isolation and drives.
White made both free throws. The transfer from National Park College, where he was a 2-time Player of the Year in Region 2.
One of the junior college rankings had him as the number 4 player in the country.
And so far, he's playing to that potential. Bradley Douglas called for the foul. It's now free throw shooting for VCU, as that is team foul number 10, double bonus for the Rams with 2.5 to go.
Well, the Rams have been running their sets, coming off some stagger screens, getting a lot of movement. Georgia Southern's been a little bit too physical as they've guarded guys getting through with some holds and some grabs, and it puts Russell Jr. on the foul line.
This year, a 75% shooter from the stripe. The team shoots 71% this year.
Russell's got a soft touch.
Grad transfer from UT Arlington, was the WAC 6-man Player of the Year. Russell made both. 5-point Rams lead. A trap in the corner, and they're going to get VCU with the foul.
Well, I think it was Russell and maybe, not sure who else was in that trap with him over there.
Russell got called for the foul, his second. But that is only the Rams' 15 fouls, so Georgia Southern must inbound from the baseline, as now Terrence Hill will come in. He's coming off a career-high performance last Friday in the win against Elizabeth City. He scored 16 against the Vikings in that 103-58 win last Friday night. Nice look inside to Micah Smith against Bamboye, and Micah Smith gets to the hard way as he now has 4 on the night.
That's a really strong finish by Smith in there after the short dump in.
2 to go in the first half. And Joe Bamisil back in for VCU. Shulga in the corner, connects from distance. 17 from Max Shulga.
Did I tell you that I love him in catch and shoot situations?
You did say that. You did say that. Here is Horn. It's called for steps.
Bamboye was in a drop coverage situation there, and I think he caused the Georgia Southern Eagle to travel.
90 seconds to go in the first half, and VCU leads 37-31. They've made their last 3 shots from the field, to include Shulga's triple that gave him 17. Bamboye's pass was deflected. Michael White saved it. Bamboye's on the floor trying to keep possession. Shulga has it, and he's fouled. You mentioned the drawn fouls. That'll be an interesting stat to watch at halftime when we get the box score to see how many he's drawn in the first half.
Well, just absolutely a hustle possession by VCU on that play. Ball's on the floor. Bell dove on it one time. They kicked it around. It wasn't the most beautiful offensive play, but Shulga winds up with it in the corner, and Georgia Southern fouls him and sends him back to the line.
Seems like Shulga has been living at the line in the first half, but this will be his 5th and 6th attempts in the first half. And that one looked good. Mentioned he was the second best free throw shooter in school history last year, as he missed only 20 free throws. He was 141 out of 161 and makes both.
And that's why I think it's just shocking that he's in the low 70s right now.
And a quick foul away from the ball. That's going to go against the freshman, Terrence Hill.
Well, you've got to be able to, with this full court pressure that VCU plays, you've got to be able to guard, but do it without fouling. And there's no reason to send them to the line before the end of this half.
That was VCU's last foul to give as we're coming up on a minute. Good closeout by Bamisil. Bradford thought about shooting that 3. Under a minute to go. Douglas will shoot it over Bamboye. Tip back to Bradford, blocked by Bamboye. Here's Horn, blocked by Bamisil. Great defense by VCU on that last trip. And that's where that length comes into play on defense with Bamboye and Bamisil with the blocks. 5-second call on Shulga. Odom was hollering at Max to make some type of movement, and he couldn't hear him.
Well, they were trying to get into a set there, but the fact that Shulga was holding the ball, the only time that there is a 5-second call. If he puts it down on the floor and just stays on the dribble, there's no violation.
Doug Sermon was explaining that to one of the fans here courtside about that. You guys are in sync here in the first half.
Well, it's amazing because you really don't see many 5-second calls these days after that rule got changed. And then certainly the technical that we had over on the bench earlier, that's even more wild.
So we had a technical with that. We had the flop technical and then the 5-second call like that.
That's right. I forgot about the flop.
VCU with their largest lead of the half at 8. We're inside 10 seconds. Shot clock is off.
They switched that last ball screen there.
Douglas. And the rebound to Bamisil, and that will end the first half. VCU thought that was a walk, didn't get the call, but they'll go to the locker room, coach, with an 8-point halftime lead.
Well, I think it was very interesting that they wound up switching that last ball screen and put them in a very good defensive situation.
Halftime here at the Siegel Center with VCU leading 39-31. Halftime activities from the Stew after this on Masson and on ESPN+. Wrapping up halftime here at the Siegel Center with VCU leading 39-31 over Georgia Southern. Sean Robinson along with the coach, Sean Carney, also former associate commissioner in the A-10 for basketball. That was a pretty entertaining first half. We saw a little bit of everything in the first 20 minutes, Coach.
We really did, and we talked about those 3 plays. We had a flop called. We had the play over by the Georgia Southern bench which official Doug Sermons was just explaining to us. It's really been an interesting first half.
What have you liked so far with both teams? We'll start with VCU first.
Well, I think the fact that they are attacking the basket and they are getting to the foul line. I think Coach Odom would prefer that they're shooting a little bit better, but they are getting themselves to the line. I am curious to see how they come out and guard ball screens, as we get started here in the second half. And then with Georgia Southern, they've gotten into some isolation plays, middle ball screens, getting all the way to the rim and taking it hard to the rim and finishing plays around the basket.
Georgia Southern, as TJ mentioned during our halftime, shooting 40% from the field. VCU 39%. But the big number that was standing out that you were talking about in that first half, offensive rebounding for VCU. They are +8 total rebounds, but they're +6 offensively, 10-4.
I also want to see what the rest of this lineup does in three-point shooting. Shulga's 5 for 6. The rest of the group's 1 for 10.
Starting 5 for both are on the floor, and a good play by Philip Russell, but back to Georgia Southern, and Dante Horn misses on the 3. Saved by White. Horn gets it back in a reset. White got Jack Clark in the air. White misses on the layup. And Russell let it go off his hands.
Bamisil had a quick look into that corner. Russell wasn't quite as ready. The official was just in front of him. Russell's got to have hands ready and looking at the ball the entire time up the floor.
Max Shulga led all scorers in the first half with 19 points in 19 minutes. 5 of 6 from 3. As Georgia Southern had a couple of players with 5 points, Horn and Banks, to lead the Eagles.
Disappointing stat line for Shulga is his 4 turnovers. I think part of it comes because he's so unselfish.
Little pick and pop action by Georgia Southern results in a turnover. Philip Russell takes it all the way and finds Shulga, who gives it back to Russell and misses on the 3. Long rebound chased down by Bamisil. Furman found Bamisil for 3 and bring it up. His first points of the night. Came in averaging nearly 17 a game and comes up with a big defensive play there to keep Georgia Southern to inbound as we look at the replay again.
Joe Bamisil certainly answered that question early on who else was going to make shots from deep, and he's a guy that can really make difficult shots, off-balance shots, whether it's medium range or long range.
While he didn't score in the first half, he also provided with 5 rebounds and a couple assists in the first 20 minutes as Nate Bradford checks back in and replaces Nakavion White.
Full court pressure like this by VCU wears down opponents. Now they're actually looking to blitz this with the trap by Furman.
Here's Eugene Brown into the lane against Furman. Tyson Brown, the offensive rebound, he'll go to the line. Furman called for his second.
Well, Furman put up good pressure at the rim. Tough shot, but then he's got to get some help from his teammates to get on the inside of that next offensive player to not allow a Tyson Brown to get that offensive rebound.
Tyson Brown, the first Eagle to have a double-double this season. He achieved it against West Georgia at 12 points and 10 rebounds in that game. And speaking to Coach Henry this week, the concern for him was the pace of the game. He couldn't make it an up-tempo game because they're so thin with the bench. And Brown shot an air ball on that second free throw. And then without Adante Holloman, the team's leading scorer, just under 16 a night. That is a huge blow for Coach Henry and Georgia Southern. Rams up by 10. Shulga left open. Now has 22 on the night.
Great little set run there by the Rams. They wind up with Shulga with an open three on the right side, and then Russell draws the foul from Georgia Southern as they're trying to inbound the ball.
Dante Horn called for the offensive foul, and that is what Philip Russell brings to VCU this season. He is persistent on the defensive end and will just get under your skin. Rams with their largest lead at 13, as Shulga has 22 on the night. Right to the rim for his 24th point. And a timeout. Nope, no timeout. No, we got a technical foul. A tech is called, and I think that went against Bradley Douglas of Georgia Southern.
I was looking at Coach Charlie Henry to see if he was going to call a timeout, and quickly the officials called a T.
And I thought when I heard the whistle, that's what they did, that Coach Henry called the timeout, but instead it's Bradley Douglas that was whistled for the technical foul. Phil Russell will get 2 free throws.
And as Russell goes to the line, you know, we had a good conversation with Coach Henry this morning.
Yep.
One of the younger coaches in all of Division I. He's got great pedigree, you know, most notably and most recently, you know, working under the coach Nate Oates at Alabama, who's a really talented young guy who years ago was a high school coach at Romulus High School outside of Detroit, Michigan. And Henry has been with some really good coaches, Jim Boylan, certainly Freddie Hoiberg. You know, he's got great pedigree. He's going to have a terrific career, and hopefully at Georgia Southern.
So we got the 2 technical made free throws, and then the timeout call with 17:39 to go. VCU pulling away up 17 on Messon and on ESPN Plus. After scoring the most points in a decade, the VCU Rams return to the Siegel Center. Awaiting them, while it's cold outside, and it's gotten a little hot here inside the Siegel Center. VCU with their largest lead of the night at 17 in the midst of a 7-0 run, as Bradley Douglas was called for that technical right before we went to break and just turned it over, and Bamasil gets the assist from Jack Clark. Back quickly is Georgia Southern, and Bradford's wild layup is no good, and I think Jack Clark is going to get called for a foul over the top, but we were getting the explanation from Doug Sermon during that break on the technical, which was called on Bradley Douglas, an unsporting #1 for
profanity towards an official.
It was eventually going to come out, an expletive to the official.
Well, I mean, the kids are so competitive. You know, certainly some of the time it's understandable, but you know, on both sides, and you know, I know that VCU had some issues with it in Charleston, and certainly Georgia Southern in their recent Drake game. You know, you can't be emotional during the game and basically lose your mind, and you know, certainly have consequences for your team. Because it's not only a technical, it's also a personal foul.
That's right. Firm is pass deflected by Bradford and out of bounds, as Georgia Southern forces a turnover, the 10th by VCU tonight.
Both teams have trapped ball screens in the last couple of possessions. Coaches will often call that, you know, trapping it or blitzing the ball screen.
Bradford, Banks, Eugene Brown, Tyson Brown, and Douglas on the floor for Georgia Southern. Deflected by Bamasill. Inside 10 to shoot for Eugene Brown. And out of bounds to Georgia Southern. It'll stay with the Eagles.
Yeah, VCU's got to be able to secure that rebound when it comes off. There was a good challenge in the corner, but they weren't able to secure the defensive rebound.
Brandon Jennings in for the first time this half to replace Max Shulga. He'll lead with 24 points, leading all scorers tonight. Rams defense has been tenacious so far in this game. They've held Georgia Southern down to 34% shooting from the field. Banks guarded by Jennings off the Tyson Brown screen. Douglas with under 10 to shoot. Here's Tyson Brown over Jennings, and the mismatch favored Georgia Southern.
A nice right-handed hook by Tyson Brown. That's really basically his best move inside and that close to the rim.
Tyson with 7. Lead is at 15. Bamasill fouled Clark to reset the offense for VCU, now with under 10 to shoot. Russell against Bradford. A couple of seductive fakes and a knockdown.
Is he talking to you?
He wasn't talking to me. He said something to the crowd, wanted to get them pumped.
That's a tough matchup for Bradford.
Russell in the open floor. Cross-court pass to Bamasill for 3. That would have brought the house down. I don't know if he would have knocked it down. Bamasill just 1 for 5 from behind the arc as Banks knocks down the lay-in.
Banks went with a little bit of a hesitation dribble. Jack Clark stood up and then was too late to be able to recover, and Banks got all the way to the rim for that right-handed layup. It was an easy one. Too easy.
A reach in on Georgia Southern. Eugene Brown guilty of his second. And that brings us to the under 16 media timeout. VCU leading 53-38 here on Masson and on ESPN+. Georgia Southern, Rams trying to win their 5th straight home game and improve to 5-0 on the season. Sean Carney, I'm Sean Robinson, our entire Rams Unlimited crew. Coach also was the associate commissioner for basketball in the A-10. He was talking during the break. Last year, a couple of teams made the tournament, Dayton and Duquesne. This year, a lot of people think the A-10 could have maybe 4 teams in this year's field.
You know, I really think that could be 3 or 4. Certainly some teams have gotten off to a good start, but extremely competitive to be in that position.
VCU looking to be one of those 3 to 4 teams. They were preseason favorite in this offseason. The missed layup by Banks, a rebound by Bamboye. Extra pass to Brandon Jennings. And Tyson Brown, the rebound, as Georgia Southern only shooting 25% from the field so far. Good hands by Brandon Jennings. It'll stay with Georgia Southern with 15 to shoot.
Well, a lot of times coaches will keep deflections. Anytime you get a hand on the ball, you can also take a charge, different plays like that. But Jennings made a great play there. Puts them in a position where now they only have to guard 15 seconds on the shot clock.
The Rams coaching staff has been high on Brandon Jennings' potential. Banks for 3 and got the bounce. It brought rain down from the stew as Banks knocks down the triple. Bamboye catches the pass from Russell and then finds Bell underneath and then got undercut by Banks. His 3rd.
Well, great transition there. Russell looked ahead. One of the big jobs on a 5-man with Bamboye playing right now, he's just got to run to the rim in transition. Russell made contact with him, threw it up. Wasn't the easiest catch for him, but he did catch it, bring it down, kicked it quickly to Russell in that left corner. And then Russell wound up driving the ball. Bell got it and then got fouled.
Bell with 6 points so far tonight. Missed his first attempt this evening from the stripe. A couple of substitutions for Coach Henry as he goes to his bench. Bell made 1 of 2. Horn, Douglas, Parker, Eugene Brown, and Bradford, the 5 on the floor for the Eagles. Douglas already has a technical in this game, so have to be careful about picking up a second. Shot clock under 10. Here's Parker going left, going up against Bamboye. Eugene Brown, an offensive rebound. Bamboye comes up with a deflection there. Another tip was no good. And Bamboye got the rebound and then drew a foul. And Doug Sermon was close. He was close to whistling a tee. He had the whistle in the mouth but didn't blow it.
I give a lot of credit to Bamboye there. He just stayed with it, continued to challenge shots, continued to chase defensive rebounds. He made a good play there and caused that foul.
Bamboye, the freshman from out of London, England, deflected by Parker. It'll stay with the Rams with 18 to shoot.
Number 11, Michael Smith returns for the
His high school career, speaking of Bamboye, started in Maryland at Our Lady of Mount Carmel, then went to Bella Vista Prep in Phoenix before finishing up at AZ Compass Prep in Chandler, Arizona. 10 to shoot for VCU as they're up by 13. Jennings with the pass to Bamboye. Shot clock is at 3. Bamboye gives to Shulga, gets it off in time, does hit the rim, and Bamboye an offensive rebound. Bamboye brings it home. He earned that basket, Coach.
Absolutely earned it. And what he lacks maybe sometimes in offensive skill, he does not give up. That's a great play by Bamboye.
Rams up by 15. Here's Smith challenging Bamboye. He had it blocked.
That may have gone off of the Georgia Southern player.
Let's see if it does.
We're not going to get it from that angle.
And they won't review it, so it'll stay with Georgia Southern with 10 on the shot clock. Bamboye's played by far his best game of the year. And a blocking foul on Brandon Jennings.
Yeah, Jennings was in good position there. And, young players, they want to be aggressive. They want to do what Coach Odom and the staff wants. There was really no reason for him to reach there. And certainly with a late, low shot clock. And here we have another play where Bradford lines up with an elbow on Russell. They're going to send both teams to the bench, and they'll go ahead and look at it, probably an F1 situation here.
Doug Sermon immediately gave the signal that it was an intentional, as I think Phil Russell is maybe some blood coming from his mouth. Well, let's watch it again.
Yeah, so just as they're getting ready to, Russell starts it a little bit with a little shove, but then Bradford comes back with that elbow and catches Russell. And unfortunately, Sermons is watching the play exactly. They call it right away, send team to the benches, they'll review it. I think they'll come back with an F1 and put VCU on the line and also give them the ball back.
This is a veteran crew. We talked when we got the lineup as who was going to be the officials this evening. Doug Sermon, he's been officiating NCAA tournament games for years. Justin Porterfield has done a few. I've seen him several times in the A-10 basketball tournament. And Anthony Eads, the son of Mike Eads, longtime Division I official. He has officiated Final Fours, national championships, and currently is the coordinating official for the SEC.
And Sean, if I could take a minute just to talk about officiating in general as they go over this review. These guys work hard all year long. It's not just from November 1 until the start of the season. A little bit of a push by Russell there, but then the elbow by Bradford, which is unnecessary, which causes that. Sermons is on the baseline and sees the entire play. But one thing for these officials, for them as they grow in their profession, and certainly Sermons is one of the best veterans out there, their goal is to make an NCAA tournament. Sermons works it every year. As you mentioned, Justin Porterfield's in the NCAA tournament, and I certainly expect young Anthony Eads to be in the NCAA tournament shortly. These are good officials. On the Atlantic 10 side, we get strong crews almost every night. And these guys work at it. Like, they'll leave this game, they'll have access to all 40 minutes of it. They can break down, they can look at plays. For instance, a Porterfield might want to go look at that play, that block that we had down on the other end in the first half, just to make sure it was right. And certainly there was all ball on that block. Fans and our viewers at home may not have thought so. But believe me, these guys want to get every play right. And that's their job, and they do it very, very well.
Well, that's Porterfield and Eads at the scores table. They're looking at that last play that we just showed you at home. They called it a intentional foul, and it appears that it's going to be Bradford that's going to get called for that foul. But we're going to see if that's going to be a flagrant 1 or a flagrant 2 that would mean an automatic ejection on Bradford.
And protocol for them is for them to look at it. There'll always be one official on the floor to be out there, but then as they're doing right now, they'll confer and talk about it and make sure they get the right play. They also want to make sure that the game clock, the time is right. They'll talk to both coaches, and then we'll go ahead and go into most likely some free throws.
And then one of the officials will come over here and get the official explanation. Doug Sermon is talking to Charlie Henry, the head coach at Georgia Southern in his second year. Anthony Eads just said something to Ryan over that about the last guy. Anthony Eads will come over here. And they just called the technical on Bradford, who actually went to Doug Sermon after getting that explanation and didn't like it at all. And Bradford has just been ejected. What did he say to you, Coach?
Well, Anthony Eads came over to explain that it's a flagrant 2, and basically because it's unnecessary, and they quickly go into that. They'll shoot 2 and get the ball here. I think the extra thing was.
So also, not only was it a flagrant 2 on Nate Bradford, then he gets a technical on the way out. So it's now 4 free throws for VCU, the 2 on the flagrant by Bradford, and then the 2 on the ejection on the other technical on Bradford. So this is getting to be dangerous territory, Coach, for Georgia Southern.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate and certainly undisciplined on the part of the Georgia Southern players. We talked about situations in games that become emotional, but no matter what age you are, a young guy, an old guy, you've got to be able to maintain your emotions so that plays like this don't happen. I don't know. I mean, obviously Russell had a little bit of a grab of the arm, but then an unnecessary elbow from Bradford would cause that situation.
And probably how high the elbow went called for the flagrant 2. And then when Doug Sermon explained it to Georgia Southern, that's when Bradford took a step towards Sermon, and then that's when Doug whistled the second tech. Bradford was already ejected anyway with the flagrant 2, but then he tacked on that other technical to give VCU 4 free throws, which Russell made, and the Rams get the ball. A deflection by Parker, up ahead to Michael Smith, and he misses the layup, but they do get the foul on VCU. And it's on Russell.
And I mentioned before, and Boye is not the most skilled offensive guy. Basically, he's going to be a catch and handoff, or catch and maybe one dribble handoff. But if he's a passing guy, that's not his best position. Georgia Southern made a good play on the ball to get the steal, and then get it down the floor to get it to the rim, get fouled.
Michael Smith at the line makes the first, as Russell will come out to be replaced by Bamasil. That snapped a 7-0 VCU run. two made by Smith, and another foul on Georgia Southern. That is the 7th team foul on the Eagles to send Max Shulga to the free throw line. We've got a lot of time left, Coach, in this game, over 12 minutes. And VCU will be shooting at least a 1-and-1 the rest of the half.
Well, again, you can be aggressive, but you got to be able to do it without fouling. I once worked for a coach by the name of Rick Pitino, and one of his biggest comments was always, fouling negates hustle.
Whatever happened to Rick Pitino?
I think he went to Greece. Went to Greece for a couple years.
I was just joking. I knew it.
I know that. He is currently the head coach at St. John's. One of the most talented guys I've ever been around. Fabulous coach,
and wins everywhere.
Motivator, teacher. He's terrific.
Brandon Jennings called for his second foul. Coach Ryan Odom and VCU will meet Rick Pitino's son, Richard Pitino, in a little over a week, as they will travel to the Pit in New Mexico. Huge non-conference matchup for the Rams as Eugene Brown hits the triple from the corner.
Been waiting to say this all night, but what will Brown do for you?
Ah, look at that. We just gave him a 3 from Ohio State. 17-point VCU lead. Bamasil double teamed on the baseline. Good play by Douglas to knock it out. 10 to shoot for VCU when we come back after this timeout with 11:34 left. VCU 62-45 lead over Georgia Southern on Massive and on ESPN Plus. VCU leading 62-45 over Georgia Southern. And let's take a look at our Virginia Credit Union assists of the game. Jack Martin, Max Shulga.
Well, sometimes the easy play is just a ball fake. And when Clark caught it on top, looks to move the defense, little ball fake brings it back to Shulga, and he makes another catch-and-shoot 3.
The Virginia Credit Union assists of the game, benefiting the Children's Hospital of Richmond and VCU. You mentioned the subtle thing. It was just a little subtle fake that got that defender to his right, and before you know it, Max Shulga had a wide open 3. Rams got 5 to shoot. Wonder if Shulga can realize it. Now Bell has it with 1. He'll heave one up. And a great play by Terrence Hill to keep that alive. VCU running some clock now with under 10 to shoot. And a foul on Michael Smith.
You know, selfishly, sometimes I want Shulga to just keep shooting every open 3 he has. But he is unselfish. When the ball moved from Hill to him in the corner, he just went to rip through and drive. And the Georgia Southern player was not in good position and winds up with another foul. Foul drawn by my favorite Ukrainian shooter, Max Shulga.
It's that front end of a 1-and-1. That was no jinx. We didn't mention his stats. Bradley Douglas for 3. And out of bounds to VCU. That is the 7th foul that Shulga has drawn tonight. That's an incredible now stat that we pay attention to on the box score now. Probably implemented a couple of years ago, and people are paying attention to it more and more. And Shulga is either near the lead or always at the top after each game.
Furman comes in to replace Bamboye, and he got a nice round of applause.
He sure did. And fast balls when he checked in and hit that 3. He got a round of applause. His first field goal tonight. And the lead is back to 20, matching the Rams' largest lead.
He keeps doing that, they're going to start calling him Mr. Big Shot Jr.
Bell with a good play, forces a turnover. They leave Hill open for 3. Ball back tap to Douglas. Out to Horn against Shulga. As Horn hit the floor hard, was holding his left knee a little bit, grimacing, and now coming back to the up court. Here's Furman down low, and it was fouled by Parker.
I'm glad that VCU continued to attack on that play. Certainly It was at Horn that went down hard, and he was down, so they were 5-on-4. And they found Furman inside.
That's Parker's 4th foul. Actually, this is 5th foul. So he becomes the 2nd player for Georgia Southern that is either fouled out or has been ejected. And Coach Henry's bench was already thin. He's got to go really deep in the bench tonight. No Adante Holloman. He was out of tonight's lineup. 2nd straight game he's missed due to an arm injury. And Braylon Thomas from out of Atlanta, wearing number 1, is in for the first time. 2 made free throws by Furman. And the lead is at its largest of the night, 22. And Billups is guarding the 6'6" guard in Thomas. Tried to go with the teardrop. Back tap by Georgia Southern to Eugene Brown.
Thomas didn't waste any time in getting an attempt up.
He did. Shot clock's at 5. Nice pass to Tyson Brown, and Billups yanks down the board. Coming up on 9 to go, and VCU ahead by 22. Hill into the lane, and Terrence Hill is on the scoreboard with his first basket.
Hill got himself into the lane. There was a little bit of contact as the Georgia Southern defender was in good position, but he just pulled back and shot a short jump shot over him in the lane.
Rams on a 7-0 run over the last 90 seconds. Banks caught up against Hill. Douglas for 3 and breaks that 7-0 run.
You can tell very easily that part of their offense and part of their skill development is for their guards to get into the lane, jump stop, and pivot in there and look to pass the ball back out, whether it be for 3-point shots or for another drive.
Bradley Douglas gets called for a foul after he made that 3. And Hill got a veteran move there. He drew that foul, kind of almost a subtle hook to get Douglas to get called for that foul. That was not a freshman type move there.
Well, maturity can come at different ages for players, and certainly, you know, when you think of guys who have a little bit of an old school game, Shulga absolutely has it.
Yep.
But my guess is that Shulga had that at 16, let alone at 22 or whatever his age is right now. Max Shulga just knows how to play.
He does. Hill, the freshman from out of Portland, has several West Coast schools, Mountain West schools looking at him. Utah State, which was Coach Odom's one of his former stops. Also Colorado and Colorado State looked at him, offered him, as well as New Mexico. Those will be their next 2 road games for VCU. A neutral court game in Nevada against Colorado State, and then the trip to the pit, December 18th against New Mexico.
Fortunately, I'm 1-0 in the pit.
Oh, look at that.
As an assistant coach at Colorado.
Out of bounds to VCU. That is not the, I mean, they can have some subpar seasons at New Mexico, but it is always tough to win a game at the pit.
Well, and it's difficult to play at elevation. Fortunately for us in Colorado, when I was there with the Buffs, you come from elevation.
Yep.
But it's a very, very difficult environment to play in. But these guys are used to it at home.
Under 8 to go. Good to see Phil Russell back in the lineup. After that elbow, Hill misses on the 3 and Brown the rebound. Eugene Brown back on the floor with Tyson Brown, Banks, Douglas, and Thomas. Hill, Billups, Russell, Furman, and Jack Clark back in for VCU, and an unforced turnover by Georgia Southern. And that brings us to the media timeout with 7:28 left in regulation. VCU with a 23-point lead over Georgia Southern on Masson and ESPN+. 7:28 left in regulation, and VCU with a 71-48 lead over Georgia Southern. Sean Robertson along with the coach, Sean Carney. Not only is he doing this game tonight, he's going to be heading out Mountain West to see a nice, I won't say border war, but how about a battle of Colorado. The Rams and the Buffs this weekend.
Colorado State goes to Boulder and plays in what is a great rivalry, and certainly two very good coaches, very well-coached teams.
Hill on the floor with Furman. Nice pass to Jack Clark on the baseline.
Hey, I've been hard on the big guys as passers, and that was a terrific drop-off. He looked like Magic Johnson on that one. A great pass from Furman to Clark to finish.
Banks a little short on the three, and Hill with the rebound. Fast Billups left open. And if he gets his feet set, that could be trouble.
Well, that's just a great transition play. They get it ahead to Clark. He's got Billups running on that right sideline, throws it ahead for an easy three. It's great offense by the Rams.
28-point lead for VCU. Here is Thomas, partially blocked by Furman, out of bounds. It'll stay with Georgia Southern. But that game with Colorado and Colorado State, it'll be very interesting as we take a look at the replay with Furman and that nice vision. Split the double team there to get that. Then the last one to Billups. But games like that will help out VCU when you play the likes of Colorado State and New Mexico, as Thomas misfires on the three. Those mid-major or high mid-major games in December will look very good in March.
Well, certainly, you think of the Mountain West, you think of the Atlantic 10, both high major conferences. Currently in the Ken Palm ratings, the Atlantic 10 is 7th in the ratings. I think Mountain West is just behind them, but both are absolutely high major programs.
Billups couldn't convert in tight. And Tyson Brown the rebound. So those two games for VCU, those will be huge. And that'll be their next two road games. Like I said, neutral court game against Colorado State, and then the true road game at New Mexico. Out of bounds, it'll stay with Georgia Southern.
Well,
Bambo, you better come back in.
For teams in the Atlantic 10, specifically, that top half, scheduling is very, very hard. It's not easy to get a Power 4 game. Most of the time those come in an MTE, much like what happened down in Charleston.
Right.
But VCU schedules aggressively, tries to get the best of competition that they can, and when they get those chances, they really need to be successful to build that resume.
Wave off the basket is going to be an offensive foul on Tyson Brown, setting an illegal screen.
Well, what happens there, too, is basically the defender, by trying to fight through and get out to his man, he actually draws that foul. So it's a terrific defensive play by him.
5.5 to go in the game. VCU well in hand. Bamboyer, the extra pass. Hill for three. And Douglas clears. But scheduling has been an issue, I think, for the high mid-majors for years and years, trying to get those Power 4, Power 5 programs to come to their court.
Well, it's just that they really don't have to. So many teams will go ahead and do a guarantee, or what we'd call a buy game, and bring teams into your home court. And they just do that and then go play in an MTE or maybe one single neutral game.
Good defense by Phillip Russell, as Fast was trying to go with the alley-oop to Bamboyer, and Banks on the other end draws contact by Jack Clark. And he'll get 2 free throws as Georgia Southern trails by 28 inside of money time in the second half.
This is an important 4.5 minutes or so. As Coach Odom gets some other guys into the game, certainly those veterans have done a great job. But it's a chance for a Hill and for a Billups, and even for a Bamboyer, who's had a really good showing so far tonight, for them to continue to produce, and almost in a situation where they don't even look at the scoreboard. They've got to play this 4:44 out and do a good job offensively. I know Billups was looking to throw that lob ahead, but he's got to be a little more selective and make sure he either gets it there, and if he doesn't have it, just keep it on the dribble and see what his teammates do as they fill in behind.
Banks at the line with a second opportunity to him. First one ended a 7-0 VCU run. But going back to your point, Coach, and that's something that Coach Odom has talked about, these newcomers, the three true freshmen earning their minutes, challenging the veterans in practice, and gaining the trust not only of their teammates but also the coaching staff to get those minutes and perform on the court.
Well, there's no question that you earn your minutes in practice every single day. But then when you get a chance and you get on the floor and Coach Odom calls your number, you've got to be ready to produce. And certainly, from the beginning, you've got to do it on the defensive end.
Banks draws the foul on Phil Russell, his fourth.
Russell was a little bit late on that cut, so he wound up behind the offensive player, wound up with a push in the back. It's going to send them to the line.
And the biggest thing with this group, you've seen guys like a Phil Russell, who got a lot of big minutes last year as a part of UT Arlington. Remember, made was the sixth man of the year in the WAC. His role is different. Zip Jackson's role is different with this team. Jack Clark coming from Clemson, made the Elite Eight a year ago. His role is different. All of these different roles that have to be molded together by Coach Odom. And like I said, not everybody's going to get all the minutes or the points, but got to come together for that common goal.
Well, the bottom line is that, whatever Coach Odom and the staff decide is your role, you've got to accept your role and you've got to do your job when you get out there on the floor. If you're a screener rebounder, you've got to be the best screener rebounder that you can be out there. If you're an on-ball defender, that's got to be your job. And if you get, a chance at a basket cut and you get an easy basket, then that's great. But if you're not the guy that's going to get shots every time, you got to do your job and be happy about it.
Inside 4 minutes for Max Shulga, tried to draw a foul and did so. Or was that foul underneath? We had 3 different whistles. They did call it on Thomas, so Shulga would shoot 3 free throws when we come back as VCU leads by 25 on Masson and ESPN+. Final 3:57 left in our game. VCU in command, 76-51 over Georgia Southern, looking to improve to 5-0 at home. They have averaged almost 83 points so far this season at home. 4 times they've scored over 80. They're close to doing that tonight against Charlie Henry's Georgia Southern Eagles defense, and we had a chance to speak to him this morning before their shoot-around. A very enjoyable conversation with him. He's, as you mentioned, one of the young up-and-coming coaches in the profession.
Well, as I look over at the bench, at the Georgia Southern bench, and you see a disappointed Coach Henry, but I think they've come out and competed very well. You and I were talking about it. The first 15 minutes, maybe even 20 minutes that first half, they did a good job. Certainly made it hard on the VCU defense as they really attacked the rim. But I think they came undone a little bit in the second half. Weren't making shots. Got a little bit too aggressive on the foul line, putting the VCU Rams on the line as Shulga makes another one. But this is a very good team, I think, and I'm curious to watch them in the Sun Belt as they advance through this season.
Came into a tough spot. No Adante Holloman, who was out for his second straight game with an arm injury. As that last play was knocked out by Shulga. It'll stay with Georgia Southern. The Kavion White has not played a lot in this second half. Parker fouled out. Bradford got ejected. The bench was already thin, so this was a very tough spot for Coach Henry.
Well, it's the current state of college basketball, college athletics. Every year is almost a new year. You've got transfers. You're trying to get new guys into the mix.
Bamboye with a big block. Jennings bounce pass to Billups for the finish. Started by Bamboye's block, Coach.
And that may be a pair that you're watching for the next several years. Jennings to Billups. Sounds good.
Yeah. St. Chris to Varina. Here's Thomas for 3. And it's back tap to Banks. Here's White using the right hand for two. 28-point lead as we're inside 3 minutes.
I think what would be very important for this VCU team is the development of their 2 5-men, Bamboye and Furman. And the more they come along and the more they're able to do in terms of, passing and catching a little bit more, I think it's going to really benefit this group.
Nice passing by VCU, and Billups is the benefactor from distance. Season high from Fats with 8. A 84-53 lead. 5th time at home that they've scored at least 80. Bamboye with another block. Up ahead to Billups for 3. Ring it up.
Billups feeling pretty good there. Catches that last one in transition and buries that 3. A great block by Bamboye. Throw it ahead. And Billups gets down the floor for that easy dunk. Coach Odom's called a quick timeout just to get some substitutes in. We'll get right back into play.
Hill came back in for Fats. 14 points, a new season high for the young man from out of Verona High School. Another miss by Georgia Southern as we're inside 2 minutes. Jennings was trying to create another extra pass as Billups actually stayed into the game. That thing almost went halfway down before it popped out. And Jennings never gave up on the play as he knocked it out of bounds.
That's a great hustle play. Any team that guards in transition and presses, most times coaches will teach how to back tip and just to run right through the ball rather than getting to the offensive player and reaching, which is what Jennings just did there. He just ran right through the ball. He tipped it out of bounds, and they go ahead and defend.
Bamboye got called for the foul, his second. Look, we just got a shot of Max Shulga, who has really played exceptionally well. He matched his career high tonight with 29 points on 7 of 10 shooting from the field and was 6 of 8 from downtown. Not a bad night at the office.
Not a bad night at all. You think about their group, they have so many explosive scorers that for any of these guys that come off the bench, they really don't need to worry about scoring. Whatever they might get is going to happen through the course of a game. But guys who can come in and guard the ball, guys who can defensive rebound, guys that can be good in terms of switches or in ball screen defense, that's what's going to earn these guys more and more minutes.
And you're seeing guys, at least 4. Jack Clark is a grad transfer. The other 4 players, this is the future for VCU. Here's Bamboye. What did you say he would be best at? The quick pass and going to the back.
Middle ball scheme just so hard to defend. And Georgia Southern got beat on that.
And good hands by Bamboye to knock that out last. As now Obi Okafor will come in for the first time with 53.8 seconds to go. As we look at that last play by Luke Bamboye. He's one more basket away from achieving his career high. He had 6 points in the win against Elizabeth City last Friday. Banks, a little short on the 3, and Billups the rebound. Bamboye was calling for it down low. Good hands by Micah Smith to come up with the turnover. Under a half minute to go, and VCU will go to 7-2 on the year and 5-0 here at home. And the average at home will increase as they've scored 89 tonight. The 5th time this year they've scored at least 80 at home.
Well, Sean, I've seen this group several times now, certainly both in person and on film. This is a very good team. There's obvious reasons why they were picked first in this league, and I'd be shocked if it's not them and Dayton fighting for the regular season title when we get down to early March. This is a terrific team, well coached. They've got a lot of weapons. This is a really good group.
Rams wrap up an 89-54 win